Wednesday, March 14. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Mark Golding, opposition spokesman on finance, has taken the government to task for what he says is a delay in giving the public a break from taxes, while commending the previous administration for the continued improvements in the Jamaican economy. In his maiden presentation in the House of Representatives as the spokesman on finance, a very animated Mr. Golding charged that the PNP had laid the foundation for no new taxes prior to leaving office in early 2016.
Sometimes he who sows does not get the credit when the crop is reaped. That is how life is. But what really matters, Mr. Speaker, is that Jamaica is reaping the benefit. Nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, while we endorse the continuity of our macroeconomic program, because it is the only way to get the country out of the debt trap, we do have some serious concerns. Mr. Speaker, this 2018-19 budget shows no increases to adequately make up for inflation over the past year in the crucial areas of education, the police, health, agriculture, and justice.
Responding to Finance Minister Audley Shaw's budget announcement last Thursday in the House of Representatives that there would be no taxes in the 2018-2019 budget, Golding argued that without the 2016-2017 increase in the personal income tax threshold to $1.5 million, there would have been no need for tax measures in 2016-2017 and 2017-2018. Mr. Golding also criticized what he said is the missed opportunity this year to cut taxes, despite collections being $5 billion above target for the current fiscal year and a projection in excess of $40 billion for the upcoming fiscal year. A move, he said, that did nothing for the common Jamaican.
Taxation policy is one of the most important tools available to the state to drive social justice, equality of opportunity, and a Jamaica that works for all. It is particularly painful that those who bought into the announcement of the so-called 1.5 and the promise, the illusion of $18,000 per month of extra cash in their pockets are now facing the harsh reality of $30 billion of additional taxation.
Mr. Golding also charged that the government's 5 in 4 economic growth target has failed. He noted, too, that the national minimum wage has not been increased in the 2 years since government took office, despite a promise to increase it. However, last week, Labour and Social Security Minister Shahini Robinson said the minimum wage is under review and an increase will be implemented soon. Turning to the current contentious public sector pay issue, the opposition spokesman said that in 2015, under the previous government, the lowest paid public sector workers were granted an increase of $1,000 per week, which Shaw had described as an insult. As it stands, the government is currently re-engaging the Police Federation and the Jamaica Teachers Association in wage talks. The budget debate will resume on Thursday with the presentation by Leader of the Opposition, Dr. Peter Phillips. The Ministry of Labour Social Security has invited the Jamaica Teachers Association and the Ministry of Education, as well as the Ministry of Finance, to a meeting. That invitation was submitted yesterday. However, in a response, the JTA said it is willing to meet but unable to assemble its team at such short notice. They're proposing the meeting be held today. In a statement issued yesterday, the ministry said the meeting is in response to reports of industrial action by government-paid teachers. Thousands of teachers took industrial action on Monday, which continued through to Tuesday, causing disruption in the education system. The Ministry of Education has activated contingencies in an effort to curb the fallout from the industrial action. The Jamaica Teachers Association has rejected the government's 16% wage offer over 4 years. It also accused the Ministry of Finance of attempting to union bust after its scheduled interim payments for the end of this month. Finance Minister Audley Shaw has rejected the assertion. He says the move is an act of good faith. The Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, has expressed concern about lack of disciplinary proceedings for senior members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force who are implicated in misconduct. INDECOM Commissioner Terence Williams said submissions have been made for disciplinary actions for 20 senior officers to the Police Service Commission as well as the Commissioner of Police. He said despite submissions made dating back to 2013, action is yet to be taken. According to Mr. Williams, this is because although the PSC is supposed to have a measure of independence, it is humbled by them, having to rely on reports from the Commissioner of Police. When these reports are delayed, the PSC is then unable to proceed with disciplinary proceedings. President of the Jamaica Agriculture Society, Norman Grant, says the future of coffee business in Jamaica is filled with endless possibilities, as he and his colleagues are willing to work with the government to engender research, innovation, and improved infrastructure. He was speaking on PBCJ's Morning Coffee Guest. We have more in this report.
One of the areas that the government must look to invest some money in is research, because the whole issue of climate change is one thing, the pest and disease is another. How can we look to varieties that can provide the same character that the Blue Mountain taste now gives us, but it is more resistance to pest and disease. And we have to invest in research. And a lot of time these research, you know, people don't like to spend money when they don't see the results. And that's one of the things, that's one of the negative about research. But I would really articulate in a very focused way that research and development is something that going forward, the new framework that will run the coffee industry and cocoa industry need to focus on.
The Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission is warning the public to be vigilant against unlicensed gaming operators. The Commission says it has taken note of recent advertisements in the media by these persons. It says all gaming and gambling activities offered to the public must be approved by the regulator. Members of the public are being encouraged to do their checks before engaging in any gaming or gambling activity. In regional news, the United Nations said Tuesday it is considering a request from Venezuela to help prepare the May 20 presidential election in which President Nicolas Maduro is seeking a new term. UN Political Affairs Chief Jeffrey Feltman met for 2 hours at UN headquarters with opposition candidate Henry Falcon, Venezuelan Ambassador Samuel Moncada, and other opposition representatives to discuss the request. Falcon told reporters after the meeting that a UN exploratory commission will carry out an in-depth review of the electoral procedure. The commission falls short of a formal UN observer mission, but it could help Venezuela move towards, quote, an electoral path and not a path of violence. That from Falcon. Falcon, who is 56 years old, is a member of the opposition coalition Democratic Unity Round Table, or MUD, but has defied a call to boycott the May 20 vote. Violent protests erupted last year amidst Maduro's rule, in which dozens have died as Venezuelans struggle with a chronic shortage of food and medicine. In sports, track and field fans are anxious to see which team Jamaica will put up at the 21st Commonwealth Games, which is due in less than a month. Honorary Secretary of the Jamaica Athletic Administration Association, the JAAA's, Garth Gale, is asking the public to be patient. He told the press, quote, "The thing is that we have become spoiled. Making a global final is still a great performance. We need Jamaica to be patient with our athletes as they seek for glory themselves and for the country," end quote. Since the Beijing Games, Jamaica has been averaging over 11 medals at global championships, with sprinting legend Usain Bolt producing at least 2 per championship. Now that Bolt has retired from the sport and medal winners like Veronica Campbell-Brown and Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce are at the back end of their careers, there have been concern among fans that Jamaica has come to the end of an era. While stating that Jamaica's track and field is still in its prime, Gayle said that it is quite normal for performances to fall when the cycle of athletes changes. Gayle is also confident in the quality of athletes who have made themselves available for the Commonwealth Games. And that's the news. Do stay with us. The weather report is next. This is PBCJ's weather report. Thanks so much for staying with us. Let's start as usual with our local currents. In Kingston this afternoon, we're expecting temperatures between 24 and 28 degrees Celsius, but that's set to go down to a cool 23 degrees Celsius this evening. We're also seeing a forecast of possible showers this evening for Kingston as well. Let's take a look at what we can expect over the next 7 days for Kingston. We're looking at possible rainfall going into this weekend, up to 60% chance of rainfall on Saturday, 50% chance of rainfall on Friday. We're seeing temperatures between 23 and 28 degrees Celsius for the rest of the week. Going into next week, though, temperatures between 21 and 29 degrees Celsius, and we're also seeing a forecast of possible showers going into next week for Kingston as well. Let's take a look at what's happening over there in Montego Bay, St. James. You could be getting some rainfall in the western end of the island. We're also seeing temperatures between 16 and 27 degrees Celsius for today going into this evening for Montego Bay, St. James. Let's take a look at our 7-day forecast for the western end of the island. We're seeing possible showers going into the weekend, but sunny skies next week. We're also seeing temperatures between 21 and 28 degrees Celsius. In our forecast today across the rest of the parishes, we could be getting some scattered showers and some cloudy conditions in certain areas. We're also seeing temperatures between 27 and 29 degrees Celsius. Let's take a look at our high temps forecast for today. In certain areas, we're looking at high temperatures between 17 and 28 degrees Celsius for the western end of Jamaica. We're seeing places like Maroon Town, 21 degrees Celsius forecast for today. We're also seeing a 22 degrees forecast for today. Duncan's over there in Petersfield, Little London, 25 degrees Celsius. Let's take a look at what's happening elsewhere in the island in our forecast for temperatures. High temperatures, we're looking at the central end, over there in the places in the eastern end of the island. Temperatures between 17 and 24 degrees Celsius. We're looking at temperatures in areas like Spaldings, Mandeville, Crofts Hill, Maypen, Old Harbour as well. Over in the eastern end of the island, we're seeing temperatures between 21 and 30 degrees Celsius. It could get hot in the eastern end of the islands today. In our forecast for tomorrow, we're seeing temperatures between 27 and 29 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of rainfall, possible rainfall across the island and some cloudy conditions as well. In our forecast across the region for tomorrow, those of you who are traveling to certain areas in the Caribbean, we're expecting temperatures between 22 and 28 degrees Celsius. We're also seeing a forecast of some cloudy conditions in certain areas as well. And further afield, we're looking at the United States. We're seeing snowfall forecast for New York, some sunny skies in certain areas. It's going to be pretty sunny out in Miami with a maximum temperature 23 degrees Celsius. Sunny skies forecast for Atlanta tomorrow as well. And that's it for the weather report. Thanks so much for making it PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.